Bob, welcome to COP26 in Glasgow. It's great to have you here.
Nice to be here.
So, Antonio Guterres has made a very bold statement. It's make or break. What does that mean to you and your organization?
For me and our organization at PwC, COP26 is a moment in time. It's what we do after this. It's about getting the action away from the words and getting the action to actually deliver the results, sustained outcomes that the world sees benefit from. And that's got to be with urgency and scale. Those are the two fundamental issues that we got to walk away from, and we need our politicians to actually change and get to policy changes to enable these things to happen. We need corporates to make the decisions to change what happens, and we need 8 billion people around the planet to change their behavior as well.
That's very ambitious and aspirational. Thank you. You mentioned there that we, and you mentioned organization. Can you just give me a little bit of an insight of what the next 12 months from a delivery of climate action is going to look like?
Yeah, for PwC, our organization, we made a commitment to get to net zero by 2030. So specifically for us, we're looking at how do we actually ensure renewable energies in every single one of our locations around the world, 100%. How do we make sure that we're smarter about the amount of travel, because most of our issues around travel, we got to be smarter about what we do there. And third, we've got to get our employees to actually change their personal behaviors. Those are the things we can take into consideration and action ourselves. But there's a second piece of the pie. As a professional services organization, we have the chance to talk to clients around the world and governments around the world. So convening organizations in terms of what they can and should be doing is equally as important. For example, getting everybody to understand what's the obligation around reporting. If you want to actually move with speed, urgency, we got to have more accountability. If you want more accountability, we actually got to report and have specificity and quality metrics to actually judge, are we making progress and how are we comparing one against the other? Those are the two things that we're really going to spend some time and energy on going forward.
It's great that you're going to bring this into the reporting mechanism. But could you talk a little bit more about other initiatives such as the carbon market that you report that you recently released with the World Economic Forum?
So we've done a number of different reports that have been announced this week. One of them is around, in conjunction with the World Economic Forum, the concept of the carbon market. Not at a territory level or a country level, but a global carbon market. The IMF put out the report in terms of the benefits of actually moving forward with that carbon market. Our challenge was, A, does it actually help in reducing emissions? Our conclusions based upon the analytics is the answer is yes, it'll actually be an additional accelerant if we can do this. Second is, does it have a significant negative impact from a GDP perspective? The answer is no. So this can be done in the appropriate ways to actually mitigate some risks that are out there. And third, can you do it in such a way that actually minimizes the disadvantage from the advantage? Said differently, we don't want to make sure that the bigger, larger, more developed parts of the world benefit, but the lesser development part of the world is actually negatively impacted. And we actually think that is possible, but it does require us to take action now consistently, globally, and put the protocols in place to make it come to life.
It's great to hear about this global introduction of a potential policy around the carbon market. Could you talk maybe about what is the big elephant in the room? Because we've known about climate change since the 1960s. That's about 60 years now. For the next 10, 15 years, what's the big bottleneck that you're hoping to remove or that you see that we need to tackle?
So there's an issue in terms of the reporting and accountability. And that issue goes back to, are we holding countries and companies equally accountable for the actions and the commitments that they are making, and are we actually making progress against them? We don't have a good measurement system right now. Both the system is not developed, as well as the underlying detail of those definitions, so we can actually hold people accountable and measure the progress and see how we're actually justifying the actions being taken and the just transition that's necessary. Because this can't be a big bang, because we will in fact lose a number of different constituency groups. The second piece here is the world has to be thinking about resiliency and adaptability. This is the issue now, where are we doing enough to get capital into the hands of the projects that are going to both reduce the emissions, but also think about the resiliency points. How do we capture carbon going forward? How do we enable that carbon market to be effective and efficient? Those are the two things that, if we're able to achieve what we want to, has got to get more energy around, more specificity around, and more action and results coming from it.
You know, it's great to hear a world leader talk about a just transition. I think you're one of the first people out of many, many interviews that we've had that's actually brought that subject to life, and I really appreciate that. So tell me, What gets you out of bed in the morning and what keeps you awake at night?
So what gets me out of bed in the morning is actually what we're doing at PwC. So our strategy is about two fundamental needs that the world has. One is about trust. We need more trust in the world that we're operating in today. And the other is to help companies, organizations, community leaders alike get to a sustained outcome that benefits all of their stakeholders, rather than just a bottom line or rather than just a GDP metric, a net economic metric. We got to be balancing short and long term. So that's what is exciting for me. That's why I'm here today and trying to actually make a difference at COP26. What worries me is there's a lot of talk, and we've had a lot of talk in the past, and we have not made any significant progress. And that's this need for speed, energy, urgency, and scalability. I hope we leave here with a lot more action than just words and promises.
Bob, thank you so much for your time. Really appreciate it.
Nice to do it. Thank you very much.